Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, as you are well aware of, that there are ample of reports suggest that illegitimate state of Israel struck hard inside Iran. At least 200 jets flown and attack at least on 100 targets inside Iran. That includes the nuclear sites, also the military installations, the missile batteries, while also killed Iranian senior military leadership and senior nuclear scientists. This was categorized as the worst ever attack in the recent history on Iran, and how Iran is going to retaliate and when it is going to retaliate. Some of the reports suggest that might be Iran has already begun its response, but still it's not clear because it is not announced yet. Israel attack was completely unjustified and belligerent aggression against the Iranian sovereignty and territorial integrity. As Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs categorically strongly condemned this attack initiated by Israel and said that this criminal action of Israel clearly sabotaged the UN Charter and the fundamental principles of the international law, while Iran has the right of self-defense under the Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. Israeli actions are not limited to Iran because Israel started it back in 2023 from Palestine, particularly in Gaza. The brutality, the genocide, the war crimes and ethnic cleansing going on in Gaza. Not only Gaza but also Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, and this is third and the fourth time that Israel is striking Iran. And also in connivance with India, Israel also took part in a limited war against Pakistan when it was there in May. And that actually constitutes a grave danger and a serious threat to not only South Asia, but lots of regions, their peace, security and stability, with serious implications. Now, for this, it is inevitable that illegitimate state of Israel must be held accountable for its war crimes across the Middle Eastern region and particularly against Iran. To talk on this very important and the grave situation which is now developed against Iran, we have in our studios Dr. Tauqeer Sargana. He is the assistant professor of international relations at the Islamic International University, Islamabad. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence here. And with him, Ali Hamza. He is the assistant research associate at Islamabad Policy Research Institute. Thank you very much, Hamza, for being with us here. And later on, Brigadier retired Syed Ghazanfar Ali will also join us, and he actually joined us. Brigadier retired Syed Ghazanfar Ali is the strategic affairs expert. Thank you very much, Brigadier sir, for being with us online. My first question to you, Dr. Tauqeer. It seems that Israeli intention to eliminate Iranian leadership, top scientists, the military, nuclear and the research facilities, and capital Tehran and other regions, number one. Secondly, how do you see the condemnable illegitimate state of Israel belligerent act against Iran, and to what extent the US support was there for Israel, although the President Trump denied any sort of a military support for Israel, but there are certain indications that there was a support behind Israel. That's why Israel has attacked beyond 1800 kilometers.
Faisal, thank you very much for having me on this very important development. First of all, we have to understand the Middle East as a region has entered into catch-22 situation. In fact, this is not the first time that Middle East is entering into catch-22 situation, because since the very creation of Israel in Middle East by the British, they created a kind of bullying bull in Middle East, which has constantly and continuously created a kind of scenario where other Middle Eastern nations were unable to survive, unable to sustain based on their own political priorities. Yes. So Israel's limited and then more strategic posturing within Middle East, starting from 1948 war, we have seen in 1956 Suez Canal crisis, then 1967 Six-Day War in 1973, Yom Kippur War in 1981, Operation Opera in Iraq. And we have seen from 1982 till 2006, the invasions on Lebanon and the recent conflictual tendency towards Syria, Yemen, and by using the aircrafts, drones, and cyber attacks on Iran. And the recent
This is
attack
kind
on
of a
Iran,
consistent circling of the circle, basically.
exactly. And that is the overall catch-22 situation for the Middle East. Now, within the Middle East, what is at stake? We have to understand this puzzle. Are the Middle Eastern Muslim nations are having conflict, or there is an ideological conflict between Shia elites or the Jewish elites in Iran and Israel, or there is a great power politics going on? The earlier British bullying bull now is handed over to the American bullying bull, which is the bigger masters at the moment. So this is the overall scenario of the Middle East, which complicates the situation to describe the objective analytical discourse that what objectives are ahead for Israel. But keeping in view the recent attack of Israel, we can understand that Israel wanted to reduce strategic paralysis in Iran's brinkmanship, because the way they have attacked top military leadership, this is the brinkmanship which decides about the response. So there is no response mechanism at the moment as we speak. So they have to appoint new generals on those very important strategic positions so that Iran can decide as a collective decision to come forward and how they are going to see, how they are going to respond to Israel's belligerent preemptive strike against Iran. Another way, where is the scientists they have been eliminated in Iran. We have to see that Iran's scientists were the key people to make their response more credible in terms of nuclear posturing. So the absence of those scientists at the moment creates another paralysis in Iran. So altogether, the military and the nuclear installations, which is again a kind of posturing that Iran wants to negotiate with the bigger bullying master, the United States of America, and the sixth round of the JCPO nuclear deal dialogue was supposed to happen on Sunday in Oman. So that altogether three-layer or three-tier paralysis within Iran is actually not allowing Iran to come forward as a credible country to respond this credible strike of Israel. So that's a kind of paralysis that I see Iran will be facing a lot pressure on their brinkmanship, which Israel is trying to exploit. So the response, we have to see what kind of response Iran develops, because keeping in view its traditional deterrence posturing, Iran relies more on indirect proxy warfare, and that proxy assets of Iran are altogether over the period of time since last 2-3 years, starting from Qasem Soleimani's assassination drone strike that he was killed.
Those were weakened or either paralyzed. So
I think they are also paralyzed. So that paralysis would again create negative consequences for Iran to develop their
very right.
posture for future.
Hamza, do you not think that earlier several nuclear scientists were actually murdered by Israel within Iran? Now again, Israel focused on targeting personnel. That's impossible without any sort of authentic ground intelligence, and that should be a serious concern for Iran. And secondly, the Israeli de facto Prime Minister Netanyahu is eager to have some sort of a regime change in Iran. What's going to be happening actually? What's the result of this belligerent act of Israel within Iran, and what we are actually sensing and getting reports from outside? Do you think that there are lots of concerns for Iran right now?
Thank you, Faisal. While listening to Benjamin Netanyahu's speech today in the morning, as soon as they were striking Iran, as soon as the strikes initiated, it was clear that he was just insisting that the people of Iran, the ancient people of Iran, just like the ancient people of Israel, they should rise against this dictatorial regime, which he called, and they should change the regime, they should have friendly relations with Israel. So this is something, it is very clear that either the United States or Israel, they are not just looking forward to conquer Iran and occupy its territory and establish a government of their own there. Obviously, they are looking forward for a very friendly government, someone who toes their line and who just does not become a threat to their interests in the region. So this is the line they have been insisting upon, and even after the strikes, Benjamin Netanyahu was asserting again that this is what they are looking forward. As far as the targeting of personnel is concerned, it has been a very disheartening event for the Iranians. People like Qasem Soleimani or the nuclear scientists like Fakhrizadeh, and now in this series of strikes again, very prominent people from their military command as well as their nuclear scientists. Obviously, they were very valuable people for the Iranian people as well as the state of Iran. So targeting them, it was more of a counter value strike, I would say, upon the Iranian interests by Israel. And the results of it are obviously a very disheartened Iranian population. They are trying to break the morale. They are just trying to embarrass the Iranian state and their authorities in front of the public, and they just want to establish that the Iranian state is not able to defend the people of Iran. And they are trying to squeeze them through their sanctions, through these military measures as well. And they want to establish this fact that Iranian people must rise against this regime, otherwise they would be suffocated and there would be nothing left for them.
Definitely, but Iranian people are really resilient when we are talking about, because from the last 40 years they are facing sanctions and all sorts of pressures from the international community. I am just going towards Hamza. Iran has already mapped US troops and the military bases in the Middle East, currently between 40,000 and 50,000 US troops and 19 sites across Gulf and West Asian region. Now situation is that US President Donald Trump says that he was aware of the recent attacks on Iran, but insists that the United States were not involved militarily, and warned that the US will respond if Iran targets Israel, either Israel or its military sites across the region. So how do you see this statement of US President?
Well, I'd say that it has been a smart strategy by the United States to trap Iran. The trap has been laid out that you know about the Israeli strikes. You are the enabler of Israel. That is an established fact that Israel does not carry out any action without America's support. So, but still, you are not involved at the level of personnel or at the level of your aircrafts or any other tactical level. So you're just hitting Iran and not letting it cry. You're just encircling it with all your bases. You're just squeezing it with your sanctions, but you're still not taking the responsibility of it. So now what Iran is in a catch-22 situation exactly, that if it responds, there is the fear, there is a very credible fear of the situation spiraling out, and then if it does not respond, nothing would be left of its reputation and its deterrence. So President Donald Trump's and the United States strategy as a whole, it has been the very same, that it has enabled Israel, not engaged Iran directly, but it has threatened it that if it retaliates against Israel or it retaliates against American assets in the Middle East, the results would be drastic for Iran. So now obviously Iran is in a very hard situation where it cannot respond directly against the American assets, it cannot hit the American bases. There are issues of the capability as well, the capabilities Iran possesses. That is another detailed debate, that what capabilities it does possess, whether it can hit these American assets or not. But still, even if it retaliates against Israel in any way, which is a direct way, I'd say.
But in any way, now Iran's reputation hangs upon how Iran actually retaliates against the Israeli strikes. Your point well taken. Brigadier Ghazanfar Sahab, if we go through the illegitimate state of Israel's strategy to attack Iran, there were more than 200 Israeli jets involved in air raids on at least 100 targets within Iran in 5 waves of strikes. Question is that how Israeli jets actually got refueled due to the more than 1800 kilometers distance to and fro Iran, while Israel has only 7 to 8 KC-707 refuelers available. Whether that was the US support in air or any other power, regional power actually involved in supporting or aiding Israel, as the US actually denying any sort of a military support to Israel right now.
Faisal, actually, you can't trust the American leadership. And you can't say that it was the only Israel which attacked which attacked Iran. It is a combination of American and Israeli technique, Israeli technology, and the full support provided by the Trump administration to Israel. You see, the Americans were withdrawn. The advisory was said that leave the area. And Americans knew that the attack is coming, though Witkoff was holding negotiation with Iran also, and they were repeatedly saying that we are trying and we are exerting on Iran, exerting pressure on Iran that you do not carry along with your nuclear facility, nuclear experience, and you must degrade it. But among in this all cloud, what they were doing, they were instigating Israel, or Israel had conveyed to Trump in last meeting that we are going to attack Iran. Now the route which is existing, and the places, the countries over which it passes through. If you start up from the west, it goes over West Bank, it goes over Jordan, it goes over Iraq, it goes over Syria, and then it goes over Saudi Arab, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So all these things which have been happened and where they had been flying. Don't you think those countries was knowing about it, about the flight of the jets? And it has happened before also, when Israeli commandos had carried out an attack and they had flown through all this area, and they had informed those countries that they are going to fly over their territory. Americans must have taken all these countries into. Americans had taken Jordan into blue. Iraq has no air defense capability. Syria is total weaponless, and you cannot expect any resistance in Syria. Meanwhile, in between comes the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So I am sure the American must have conveyed to them. And as far as the refueling process is concerned, it's not only the Israeli assets which refueled the aircrafts in between. These are the American assets also, which must have refueled those 200 aircrafts which carried out the attack on Iranian targets. The question, these all things that happened. And we know the American and Israeli nexus. We know the American and Israeli cooperation. We know how does American support Israel. How does the American presidents have been supporting Israel. American president only come into the air because of the support of the APEC and all that Jewish community which is living and which is controlling the Federal Reserve. The question here is that why did Iran not know, or why did Iran not take the action that Israel is going to attack? So it should have been protected. It should be.
Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Sahab, you are pointing out that one. Some reports suggest that at the footsteps of Ukraine, in which US support was always there, Israel has actually smuggled some of the vehicles carrying weapon systems as a part of the multiple covert actions before attack on Iran, as Israel's secret agency believed to have built a secret explosive drone base within Iran for operation that actually neutralized Iranian defense systems, the missiles and the kamikaze drone systems launchers, while deployed short-range precision missiles near anti-aircraft sites in central Iran as the strike begun. So how do you see that? Because that involves the ground intelligence, that involves within Iran, that was necessary to halt any sort of a secret agency working within Iran against Iran.
That's what I was trying to bring you at. That what had Israel, Mossad, and don't name Mossad only. Take the nexus of Mossad and CIA. If Mossad and CIA as a joint venture can destroy Twin Towers just to throw the blame onto the Arab world, and to ensure that they put their foot on ground in Afghanistan. So if they can do that, they kill their own people, and they had been doing that before that also. So why wouldn't they do it in Iran? Mossad and CIA ensured their presence in Iran, and whatever has been done, you have already told. But the question here is that Iran is a very old system. Iran knew that American and the UK CIA and MI16 had taken a clandestine operation to remove Mossadegh from the power and to bring Shah Reza Pahlavi. At that point of time, they had also used the Iranian army officers. They had bribed them to throw Mossadegh out. So if Iran leadership was so naive that they did not contemplate that Israel is going to attack them, and they exposed their whole command, they exposed their scientists, they did not protect them, they did not issue any advisory, their intelligence system did not know. So that points out two things. One basic thing is that they are incompetent, and second thing is that there is a group operating in Iran which is against the present leadership. And there are people present in Iran who do not support the Islamic process which has been going on under the present leadership. And there are exiled Iranians living outside Iran in foreign countries, in Western countries, who have been collaborating. There are evidences that Iranian had been on the payroll of CIA, and Iranian people had been on the payroll of the Mossad also. So it is we accepted. Israel has carried out an attack, but the way it has been carried out, the way the leadership has been eliminated, the methodologies with which the scientists have been eliminated, the places which have been targeted, it's not possible without the support of the inside hand. That inside hand is inside the.
Your point well taken, Dr. Tessin. Here we take a short break, and soon after we'll continue our discussion. Welcome back, viewers. You have got the latest news about Iran that it is from the Iranian media that Iran just retaliated against the Israeli aggression and at least fired hundreds of the ballistic missiles at the illegitimate state of Israel. So, Dr. Tauqeer, Iran started retaliation, and this is going to be, do you think that it is going to make any difference? Because this time, not the drones, not the kamikazes, but not even any sort of a medium range or something like that. It is kind of a ballistic missile attack on Israel. So how do you categorize Iran's response right now?
This is a war of credibility at the moment, because the war has just unfolded. We cannot conclude that this is going to be finishing the overall discourse of tit for tat actions or reactions between Israel and Iran within a day or two. I think this is a prolonged sequence of actions against each other, and that is why Iran's current strike on Israel was due. But it came a bit early in my understanding, because the kind of strategic paralysis Israel wanted within the brinkmanship of Iran, I think Iran has responded to that particular strategic strike of Israel. So at the moment, I believe this was not the response that is going to paralyze Israel's war options, but at the moment, I think so Iran came out from that cornered posture within its brinkmanship by retaliating through 100 ballistic missiles.
It's okay that Iran has actually retaliated. That is important for Iran's credibility, actually, and respect in the international arena as well. So now there is a concern even from the International Atomic Energy Agency, the nuclear watchdog, that actually warns of the risk involved regarding the safety of the nuclear sites after Israeli strikes on Iran. IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi has issued a statement, says Iran has reported no elevated radiation levels from their nuclear sites after Israeli attack on Natanz nuclear facility particularly, but warned of the risks to public safety and urged all sides to avoid further escalation. But Israel actually continued their attacks, because we have the reports that at least 3 times Israel actually violated Iranian airspace, particularly one attack at 3 a.m. and then afterwards 2 more. So how do you see this? Because this is going to be a concern for public, particularly for the Iranian public.
I think this is a gruesome violation of Israel when it comes to nuclear non-proliferation, and particularly safety, security and safeguard of nuclear installations. Because nuclear facilities are not meant for strategic counterforce targets. All these facilities are always rescued from a kind of strategic attacks. But Israel is mad enough not to respect international norms and war principles. So which is why at the moment we have to see that what kind of damage or what kind of consequences would erupt out of attack on these nuclear installations in Iran, because there would be definitely, because if some quarters of Israel and international community, when they are claiming that Natanz and other nuclear facilities are being targeted, if they are targeted, it means they are destroyed. So if they are destroyed, how is possible that there will be no radioactive leakage and all these things? So it is very pertinent by the International Atomic Energy Agencies to say that this is not acceptable, and also there are safety, security and safeguard concerns at the moment by international community, and Israel should refrain to keep these nuclear installations.
But you know that illegitimate
strategy.
state of Israel and the de facto Prime Minister Netanyahu,
Yeah.
they don't have any sort of a principles, that they are not respecting international law, they are not respecting the UN Charter and any sort of a humanitarian law even. So, Hamza, there is another anomaly. US Council for Foreign Relations actually says that US operates at least broad network of military sites, including air bases, both permanent and temporary. Out of 19 locations, 8 are the permanent bases located in the Gulf region. There are lots of countries there. If Iran launch any sort of attack on the US bases within the region, that is the fear, because you know that there are two aspects of it. One, they are the US bases, but ultimately they are at the sovereign countries, at the land of the sovereign countries and all of the Gulf countries. So it means, do you think that Iran is going to opt such type of option to retaliate?
Well, that is a million-dollar question, that what would be the scale and intensity of Iran's retaliation. I think on the main point on which the United States is relying is the irrationality of Iran, and I do not necessarily think that Iran will act irrationally to this.
Okay.
Iran's response obviously would be directed against Israel directly, and if it spirals out, obviously, as we have been analyzing for years, thinking over it, talking about it, that the first option Iran would have,
because illegitimate state of Israel has a covert plan to involve Iran in retaliation with other countries, the sovereign countries within the region as well.
That is what I am talking about, that the first option Iran might have, it is the squeezing the oil supply from the Strait of Hormuz. That is a more credible option actually for militarily for Iran. When it comes to the targeting of other sovereign states, the United States military bases, I'd say again it has been a smart move. Has been a very cunning move by the United States, because the lines are very blurred. For instance, if something is emanating from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, will you be hitting Qatar, or will you be hitting United States when you respond to it? So the lines are very blurred here. Iran is in a catch-22 situation. I agree to Dr. Tauqeer as well, and Iran's options for retaliation are very limited. And as Iran has initiated its response, we would see that how this retaliation comes again, and the scale of spiraling out of this war will just establish that what options Iran can have. Will Iran afford to directly target United States bases, or it will be limited to the Israeli territory?
Okay, your point well taken, but this escalation would ultimately be dangerous for the region as well. Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Sahab, illegitimate state of Israel and had attacked Iran and its military and the nuclear infrastructure in morning, and with little resistance and little concern of the Iranian air defenses. Given complete freedom of air movement, in the Iranian skies seems major shift in the balance of power, and also expose the weaknesses and degradation of the Iranian military capabilities. Do you not think that it sets a dangerous precedent, and given a confidence to the arch rival of the Muslims, particularly when we are talking about Israel?
There's been a new world order which have been set by the American. That's an American world order. And it is that if you do not like a neighbor, or if you do not like a country, use the standoff weapons and attack the facilities. And it had been going on for with the Americans. You see where they attacked everywhere. And the second thing is that Americans have utilized UNO, which was supposed to be which was created after League of Nations to ensure peace in the world. Americans have utilized that UNO to take chits for attacking the countries, and for passing resolutions and getting permission from UNO that go and attack Iraq, go and destroy Syria, go and destroy Libya. And this has been all been happening under the shade of the UN. So this is new world order that if you do not like a country, if you do not like anything in that country, then use the weapons, use the bomb, as Indians did with Pakistan. Make a, I mean, taking the texture of terrorism. They said they attacked our mosques, they attacked our madrasas and all that. And this is same had been happening over a number of years. So now the Israel has taken also advantage of that. Israel has attacked Iran before that also. Israel attacked, had killed Qasem Soleimani also, number of other generals also, and Iran had only been issuing warning at that particular period of time, and now they were doing the same, that ये तो बहुत I mean उनसे अपने आप को बहुत खतरे में डाल लिया. But what's happening on ground, we have to see that. And the practical situation at this point of time is that Iran does not have an air force. They use those aircraft which have become redundant in the world. I mean, if you say the F4, if you talk of the Changdujis, if you talk of MiGs, they are just a piece of an aircraft, but they cannot contest the modern.
Like Tomcats and some of the F7 aircraft, those are obsolete already. They have third generation or the 3.5 generation aircrafts right now. So Brigadier Sahib, what about the Iranian response? Just started retaliating against the Israelis' aggression, and they have used ballistic missiles to take revenge. But do you think that they have any sort of a second or third option as well to retaliate? And if this whole spiral, this whole escalation actually spirals, and Israel once again respond to the Iranian missile attack. So do you think that Iran has more options available to retaliate again?
The option which Iran has is, one is the use of the missiles which you're seeing right now. They start off from Shahab. They have the short-range missiles also, and Shahab 3 is a missile which goes up to 3,000 kilometers. And other missiles, Fatah 1, Fatah 2, and all those missile systems which Iran possesses. They can use that. Second thing is the use of the proxies which Iran had been doing for very long. That is Hezbollah or Hamas, or you can talk of the Houthis, which were very effectively used. And Houthis even targeted the American ships also. They targeted the Tel Aviv airbase also. So they should they should reuse them. They should provide them.
Brigadier Sahib, do you think that the proxies which were their earlier leadership already dissolved or eliminated, do you think that these proxies are strong enough to retaliate against Israel in the region, in Middle East right now?
See, the leadership tier exists. It is the only availability of the weaponry which is more important. Are those weapons available to them or not? Are those missiles available to them or not? The tier of the leadership in this such organizations never dies. It gets transformed from one person to the other. And that had been happening over a period of time. See what's happening in Pakistan with Fitna al-Kharij. You have killed number of their heads, but it keeps on transferring from one person to other. So it is the provision of the weaponry. We have to see whether Iran is in a position to provide those weapons or not, because it was only Iran which was providing, or limitedly Russians had done that. So the third option, land option, is not available because there's going to be no land attack. So Iran is left with the option of only missiles, standoff weapons, and that too against Israel, because Iran would not like to target, would not like to pick up the fight at two angles. That is the fighting with Israel and fighting with Americans.
Well taken. Your point well taken, Dr. Tauqeer. As Brigadier Sahib said, there was earlier 5 rounds of talks in Oman. Those were indirect talks between United States and Iran. Do you think that after this Israeli belligerent act against Iran, there is any option left to have Sunday negotiations or the dialogues between United States and Iran? Because the President Donald Trump has already said that there is a room for Iran to come back to the negotiating table. But whether Iran is going to have some sort of option for that? Very brief, because we have run short of time now.
I think the time to talk is over, because diplomacy has failed. The engagement within that dialogue was to avert such kind of situation by the Iranian side. But Israel has not respected the ongoing diplomatic efforts by United States of America. So we have to see into it, because United States of America has always been escorting Israel, whenever it has been categorized as a bullying or belligerent nation within the Middle East. It's not about the American nation who believe and respect global norms, international law and justice. It's about the US foreign policy. The US foreign policy is again in the clutches of Zionists. A POTUS like Donald Trump, who wants to receive a Nobel Peace Prize while having a CV of peace lover, President of the United States of America, he himself was unable to done a deal of ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine and Raza. So this is again a problem for America to come forward with a diplomatic channel to convince that peace and stability can still be an option within.
But unfortunately, these channels are already disrupted quite a long time, really, because time and again. So Hamza, what this Israeli attack on Iran means for Pakistan, how Pakistan position itself, whether it's going to be complicated or enhance Pakistan's roles in the region and globally?
Well, personally, it is a relief when you see the air defenses of countries non-existent, their air force decapitated, and how their public is being threatened. So, well, one becomes thankful for the air force we have actually. The first message we take from that is that how important it is to establish and substantiate your defenses in the face of threats from belligerent countries like Israel and Israeli-like country like India. For Pakistan, I think the challenges have enhanced. Your very neighbor, Iran, it will be engaged, if it gets engaged in a war with Israel, it will have implications. Pakistan has a large Shia population, and even the whole Pakistani population, they have a sympathy for Iran, the Muslim Brotherhood concept.
Iran is our neighbor, we have the common history, culture, tradition, and all that.
If we are very just here, obviously the belligerents come from the Israeli side.
Definitely,
and justice is being done from that side. So Pakistan cannot be completely sidelined from the scenario, and because of the geographical location we have, the geostrategic importance we have, I think there will be consequences for Pakistan. What will be those consequences? It is yet to be seen.
So one last, but very brief. Where the Middle East and the other regions situation is actually heading now, because after this retaliation and there is this conflict, the hot conflict between Iran and Israel, as Israel actually took on more than 5 countries. This is the 6th one, Iran. And then UN seems handicapped right now. International organizations, International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, they all became naive to take any sort of action against the illegitimate state of Israel. Then international order seems to have a disorder. Then why it's so weak when it comes to the sovereignty and integrity of the global south particularly?
Israel's attack, or countries like Israel, like India, you can also include in that. These countries have, put international order into abeyance, put international norms, international law, justice, all the values that humanity has gathered so far in terms of global norms. They have attacked every coming, passage of time. With the passage of time, like weeks, months, or years, they have been continuously hitting the global order very negatively, and which is why we are watching the current turmoil and circumstances in the Middle East. So the countries who are in the Middle East, they are again they cannot detach themselves from the current ongoing scenario.
Obviously it is, yes.
And it's a kind of situation where, doomed if you do, doomed if you don't.
Yes.
So this is how they have to take a side. And if they enter into geopolitical side of contemporary crisis, the future for those countries is not stable as well. But if they remain within the right side of the history, which is strengthening global norms and international voices like International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court, as well as the other bodies of United Nations, I believe so the peace and stability can be achieved in the Middle East. But the glare consequences are not supporting that particular evidence.
Your point well taken. Thank you very much, Dr. Tauqeer, for being with us here in the studios. Thank you very much, Ali, for being with us, and thank you very much, Brigadier Retired Syed Ghazanfar Ali, for being with us online and very candid views. Viewers, you have just listened the views of our panelists. Iran already started its retaliation against Israeli belligerent act, and Now, because Israel, what Israel had already done was the clear and sheer violation of the international law, the UN Charter, humanitarian law, Geneva Convention, and all others. And even Israel actually breached the International Atomic Energy Agency rules and regulations as well. There are lots of fears to have escalation. What Iran is retaliating right now, Iran has the right to retaliate under the Charter's Article 51, and Israel has the rights of self-defense. It is not only Israel in the world which has the right of self-defense. Any other country can retaliate. Israel has actually breached the sovereignty and integrity of Iran, and this whole situation is actually must have to be stopped, and there must have to be the peace and negotiations between Iran and the United States to have this nuclear issue settled once for all, because ultimately only peace will give the dividends of development and prosperity in the region. Otherwise, there would be lots of dangers actually waiting for all the regions, including Middle East and even for South Asia. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.